evening, good evening, good evening. It is 8 p.m. on a Tuesday, which is unusual. But, Canadian Thanksgiving yesterday, so we gave ourselves a little bit of a holiday. We're back tonight. Welcome to Scouching Live. I am Will, of course, the host of the show. It's just me tonight. AJ Jadero, our wonderful, illustrious, hardworking producer, is currently at the Scotiabank Arena, where he is watching the Toronto Maple Leafs currently winning over the Nashville Predators 2-0 in the first intermission. As far as I can tell, he's having a great time. I just realized I was going to wear my other pair of glasses for this show, so maybe I'll just get those out while I introduce the show and swap on camera here. You get to see my actual face for a split second here while I switch these, because I felt like this would be better for a Tuesday night show, a little bit of a one-off. But anyway, welcome to the show. I have been hard at work, continuing with all that there is to see out there in the world of hockey. I will take this opportunity right off the top to pitch the Scouching.ca subscription plan or YouTube membership. It's a little more complicated with the YouTube membership. But on Friday night, we had a lot of fun in the Discord server, actually. We were watching some NHL rookies back to back, having some fun times, watching all these new youngsters get their feet going in the NHL and have some fun, watching all those guys. There's no shortage of them to check out this year. There are plenty going on. So yeah, it's been a really, really fun time. And so that's a really good place to do that. We are going to do that more. I'm always in there doing, I call it office hours. If you want to sort of check out what I'm up to and ask some questions privately and all that stuff, I'm in there quite often. So with that out of the way, you can, check it out. Scouching.ca. Link is in the chat. I think I just hit the button. There it goes. You can check it out. Do as you will. If you do go the YouTube membership route, you're going to have to DM me and I have to give you a free account on the website or invite you directly or something. It's a little bit strange. I wish there was better ways to integrate YouTube memberships into stuff, but unfortunately there isn't. But anyway, we are, hard at work. Let's see. I'm going to go through who have I been seeing recently. Let's see here. Yes. Okay. So I don't remember the last time. Oh, it's not really in order. I've looked at all the big boys pretty much. Recently, I've been looking at guys like Ryan Lynn, Axel Ellefson, Adam Numa man, Liam Ruck, JC Lemieux, Yegor Shilov, Landon Heffel. I meant to listen to that game without mute on, so I really nailed down the pronunciation, but I didn't. Julian Mays, Alexander Command, Alex Command. He didn't play much. I looked at the gigantic kid on London, Maxim Sokolovsky. He was a good time. Pierce Mbui, I did a game of him today. Who else? Jack Hextall, Blake Zielinski. And there's plenty more on the way. Who's on the docket for the rest of this week? Georgios Pantelis, Ryan Brown. I really like Ryan Brown. Morgan Anderberg. I watched a game of him in the SHL. He looked real good at that level. That was pretty interesting. Vladimir Dravechki, Thomas Vandenberg is this week. Adam Valentini, Ilya Morozov. There's a whole bunch of fun ones. Landon Nitsch is probably next week, but I'm excited to look at him. He's been one on my radar for a while. But anyway, if you haven't seen a show this season yet, we are loosening up the structure a little bit. Obviously, we're going to answer your questions, but we're going to try to do so on the fly this season and try to keep up with the chat. So have at her, let her rip. And we're going to try to get through these quicker and everything. Those guys I mentioned are the ones that I'm most familiar with recently. There's a few others probably mixed in there that I just functionally can't really remember. Maybe checking the Discord server would be a good way to do it. Because also I post daily updates in there based on the players that I'm looking at here. Oh, Julian Mays, that was another one I did. Oh, I did my second game of Albert Smits. Who else? I think I did JP. Was I here for a JP? Yeah, those guys were last week, and I talked about them on the show. Okay. Well, cool. Nevertheless, just plowing through them one at a time. And of course, mixing that up with some NHL because it's always fun. And it's good to check yourself. But anyway, let's get to let's see what's going on. Let's see how you doing. How are all of you? I'm doing. I had a lot of fun today. One of the side hobbies I have is I like to look at the old stock market and track what's going on in there. And these days have been kind of interesting. So if you have any quantum computing stock, congratulations. I sold all of mine today right at the top, and we're going to Disneyland and all that fun stuff. I'm just kidding. I don't have it. I don't know, anyway, but I following along with that craziness has been a lot of fun. So if you're a tech nerd like me, the quantum computing world is one to keep an eye on for craziness. But anyway, let's get into the chat. Let's see what what analytical work we can bring from my daily life into this YouTube chat. Can you see Leo Carlson being the best player in 2 to 3 years of the top 3 in 2023? I don't know. I'm gonna answer in a very annoying way. What is best? I think there will be things that he will be superior at to those two, the guys ahead of him, I would think, or the guys right there with him, guys like Fantilli and Bedard. In 2023, I think it's possible. He definitely has like better physical tools and like resilience and all that stuff that I don't think a guy like Fantilli has. Definitely not a guy like Bedard, but I think Bedard still, the offensive ability is pretty hard to overcome in a lot of different ways. Out of that draft as well, we also haven't seen a whole bunch of these guys play yet, at least not in the NHL all that much. So we'll see, but I think it is pretty clear that those guys are kind of separating themselves in terms of overall value, or at least potential value. Dmitry Simashev was one of the guys that we watched on Friday night, and that was a lot of fun, but I certainly don't put him in that category. Matvei Michkov, I don't think I'd put him there either, but still very good. All good players. Zach Benson has been great on what is looking like another, well, at least to this point, disastrous Buffalo Sabres season. They have not gotten off to a very good start, both in goals, winning games, and on paper behind the scenes. It just doesn't look very good right now for them. So hopefully they dig themselves out of that hole, but boy. But anyway, Zach Benson's a bright part of that team, and he's a heck of a player, and I love him dearly. But I don't know. Best is subjective, and we will see. But I love Leo Carlson. I think those three guys all bring different things and really, really high-end levels of play, and I think he's pretty poised to have a pretty darn good breakout year, but I think so is Bedard and so is Fantilli. All right, 2 questions. Have you watched or tracked Julian Mays, and are you in love? Is Ethan McKenzie on the Edmonton Oil Kings this year's Bryce Pickford candidate? Well, I can't tell you much about McKenzie. Being an 06, like a September 06, and he'll be 20 in the fall next year if he does get drafted next year. That you kind of really got to be sure at that point, and I haven't seen enough of him to really know for a fact exactly what's going on there. I was watching some of the Oil Kings last night, actually, but I didn't really make the time to, or set aside the mental attention to go look at McKenzie. But because you did this, Austin, and you're an original gangster, and you're a good friend, and you've been around the block and back with me for a while, I'll do it just for you. I'll take a look at Ethan McKenzie and then tell you how awful he is, and how you should never ever reach out to me or speak to me ever again and feel terrible forever. No, I'm kidding. I would never do that. You're the best. You're one of the best. But anyway, Julian Mays, yes, I tracked him the other day. I've watched him off and on over the course of the season and have been intrigued. I think he's one of these guys where the more I saw, the less I kind of liked. Like, again, if you're 5'8" or so, the bar for entry is very, very high. And with Mays, I put him in the watch list after the game I did, because I feel like he's just going to be one of those guys where he is a very, very good straight line skater, a very, very talented, skilled player, but really I feel like just does not vibe with other guys on the ice, be it Regina, or he just has a style of play to me that kind of rubs me the wrong way with regards to projecting to the NHL. He's a very, very fast player. He plays very, very fast. He is an exciting player to watch, but very one-on-one focused, very sort of individualistic. Didn't really pass the puck a whole lot, and when he did, it was kind of without a purpose and just kind of, missing targets and kind of lazily sort of flipping pucks around and not really playing with a whole lot of purpose unless he was doing things himself, and I feel like that's a tough combination. But, that said, he is very, very, very talented. Like, he's a guy that maybe is a late-round swing for a team as he is right now. It's still early in the year, and he definitely has caught some eyeballs, but I feel like for him at his size and the way that he plays, I feel like the bar is going to be really, really high, and there's going to need to be a lot of additional sort of development going on there, both on and off the ice in the video room and just all that stuff. Like, that's going to need to be a big thing for him. But hey, if you buy the fun factor, all the more power to you, right? But I again, with Julian Mays, I look at him and then I go back and think about and compare him to the notes I had on like an Ivan Fomin, who didn't get drafted but is also 5'8" and also pretty slight on his feet, but incredibly skilled and incredibly energetic. And I every day I know which one I'm going with, because the Fomin the Fomin angle is, there's way more physical energy. There's way more 200-foot impact. There's way more playmaking ability. There's way more just structure and energy in his game than a Julian Mays. But Mays is exciting. He's exciting. Did you expect Matthew Schaefer to be this good this fast? Man, y'all. Am I making myself, how do you do, fellow kids, if I colloquially group you all together as chat? I can't do that. I'm sorry. But now that I have made myself feel incredibly uncomfortable, Matthew Schaefer on Friday night was the first player we watched. Blessed member of the Scouching community, Scott Fingeruth, was in there with us, and he had to go. So he was like, hey, if you do me a favor, can we watch Matthew Schaefer? Because I'm curious of what you guys all see. And there was like 6 or 7 of us in there. And we were just every single one of us to a T, right? We don't always agree on everything in that server. There's definitely some discussion that goes on in there, which is always great. I'd rather have that than unanimous acceptance of everything that everybody says. But in that moment with Matthew Schaefer, it was universal disgust in a good way. You know what I mean? It was... I could not believe what I was seeing, honestly, with Matthew Schaefer. I knew the more I watched last year of other players, and especially once I put together the report on Schaefer based on everything that I had gathered on him, all the data that I'd gathered, all the video, everything, my brain immediately just was like, yeah, no, this guy is going to be sick. Like, people are down on this draft maybe, and there definitely is some validity to that in areas for sure, and it drops off real quick. But Matthew Schaefer's legit, man. Like, he is the real deal. And I remember watching him when he was 16, and even just the growth in his game in general since then has been outstanding. But seeing him with the Islanders, he looked at a lot of times like unstoppable. Like, at 18, barely 18 years old for a defenseman, like, the flow to his game and his awareness and timing off the puck, and like the way he skates to get himself to an open spot and make himself a target and make a play, or the slot passing that he had. He had some really extraordinary moments in the game that we saw together, and I had pretty mild expectations of him. I sort of thought, you know what, he hasn't played a competitive game in 2025, like, at all. So if he looks comfortable in the NHL, that's already a huge accomplishment. And I think it went beyond that, like, well beyond. I watching all the other young guys this year, I know Michael Meese is playing his first game tonight. I haven't seen anyone in the NHL this year that comes close to what I've seen out of Schaefer on a consistent basis. That is, I think a guy like Demidov is still, you give him some time in Montreal to sort of get the wheels going, and I feel like Demidov is going to sort of gain some more ground in terms of that side of things. But I could very easily see Matthew Schaefer being an extraordinary player this year and having a great season. We'll see how like the longer term goes this year. He didn't play that many games this past season, and he was injured for a long time, and the NHL season is the longest season he will probably have ever played, and yada yada yada. So we'll see what happens, but I was really blown away. I did not at all, to answer your question, I did not expect it. Not to this extent at all. I thought maybe offensively, carrying the puck, you'd look a little comfortable, a little bit confident, moving and shaking and slicing and dicing. No, there's more to that. There's more to him in the NHL already than that. And just, good luck. Good luck, everybody else. Good luck. Yeah, Ben Kindle. I don't think he's been sent back. I think he's still with the team, right? Jembaman Gindel. I just searched Ben Jam Kindle on Google there. Yeah, he's still with the team, it looks like. Look, he was another guy that I've seen in the time since the last show. I watched one of his games. It was the game where he scored, against the Rangers. I don't know, man. I just love this guy. I love him so much. I'm so happy that he's doing what he's doing. I think still like the physicality of the NHL game is a lot, and keeping guys off of him and fending pressure off of him is definitely an issue, and I don't know if he's an NHL player full-time all year long. But this is a great experience for him. And he scored a goal, which is also great. And I think he's making plays, which is good. He's seeing the ice pretty well, which is always kind of how he's done things. He's getting around in quick little spurts really well, and he's not wasting his opportunity, I don't think, really at all. It's just a matter of like, is he really gonna over 82 games like have a productive season, enough of a productive season that's really gonna move him forward, or would going back to Calgary be sort of the move for him? And honestly, like, there's part of me that kind of is interested in the idea of the Pittsburgh Penguins, doing the San Jose Sharks thing, kind of, where they have the kids on the roster and they know they're probably not going to win a whole bunch of games, but they'll find a way to improve, and it's like a known thing that the struggles are going to happen. And you just kind of deal with the punches as you take them, and that's an idea. I think there's validity to that, right? But at the same time, like, this is why Kyle Dubas has like one of the most difficult jobs in hockey, right? It's like he's got to walk the line of like, I have Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin on the team, and these like are all-time great players who have won Stanley Cups before, and I don't know behind the scenes, are they cool with being on a team that's rebuilding, or do they want to really go for it? Because that team is built with like a lot of just guys, and I don't know if they're built to win, but also they've got Sidney Crosby, and also they've got Erik Karlsson, and also they've got this and this and this, right? So, and I don't think any of those guys are going anywhere. So he has to walk that line. And look, to me, if you send Ben Kindle back to junior, he'll probably have a better time, an easier time of things. Who do you replace him with, right? And if Ben Kindle is the best option you've got for the role that you want him to play, maybe he does stick. I don't know. But I did not expect this out of him. I did not expect him to jump straight to the NHL. But this is also why I make it really clear, like, so much of this is also about who drafts the guy, right? Like, if Ben Kindle were drafted by the Montreal Canadiens or the Toronto Maple Leafs or the, Winnipeg Jets or the whatever, I don't think he's on the team, right? Like, I think it's a very, 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 very big long shot that he's on the team. But in Pittsburgh, there's jobs. There are jobs, and there's guys they're probably happy to waive and send to the AHL and see what happens and blah, 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 blah. So there's that. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with him. I'm a big Kindle fan. I can't lay claim to being like the first raw guy on him out there, but he was one of the guys where by November last year, I'm sitting there going, yep, this guy is really good. Like, there's a lot going on here that I like. I like him award went to him real early last year. Yeah, we got the club going up on a Tuesday, exactly. Fear not, there seems to be people who have joined you in your concerns about Gavin McKenna. And yeah, I mean, look, again, I feel like I'm saying this every show now. It's like it's like I don't want to come off like I'm being a, not nice person about all this, right? Like the whole angle I always take is, what if the guy were sitting right with me? How would I talk to him? And I mean, look, this is just me, but I'm a believer in like being honest and, and just sort of like, if you're giving feedback to somebody, like it's better to be clear, if you know what I mean, and to just make it very apparent of like being productive with it, but like being honest about the situation, right? Like I wouldn't be abusive, but I would, if I were a coach, be like, I know you've got more in the tank here. I know that you've gained speed in your game over the course of the summer. So, you need that sort of killer instinct. If you want to be the guy that scores, then you've got to also be the guy that at least turn the knob up a little bit. And I think with McKenna, like the game I tracked, I said this last week, it's exactly what I thought, right? It's exactly how I thought it would go out, right? Really solid, but not spectacular transition management offensively. Not great defensively, really, in transition. Just a lot of risk taking in the offensive zone on extended puck possessions, taking the puck out to the blue line and turning it over, and but then you would just see him rifle stuff around the ice, and you go, yeah, not many guys in the league can move a puck like he can. Not many guys think like that, and I don't know how you square that circle. So I hope that what happens is not the discussion turning into Gavin McKenna is like overrated and cooked, or a bust because he doesn't, whatever. It's more a matter, like, obviously, if it makes me look smart, I agree with it. But in this case, like, the whole thing is, I don't think I'm that radical in the sense of like how I approach this discussion about this player. I don't think I'm that radical on this. So for people to now see it and hopefully not, but become more, I guess, black and white and like stark about it, very abruptly after 4 games? He's played 4 games, is a little bit strange. That's a little bit tough for me. But again, I always take the approach and the angle on this of like, if I see the potential, if you've got the potential, if that's there, if that upside is there, then you have to lean into it. Like you have to motivate in that direction. Like you have to direct in that direction. And focusing too much on the negatives is, I feel like you start to, look at what happened with James Hagens last year. I think people overcorrected on just how questionable his game is. How many times did we hear people talk about how great the under-18s were for certain players when James Hagens won a World Junior Gold medal? That's a much more difficult tournament to win. So at the end of the day, I with McKenna, it's also a very good example of something I talk about so often, where points are a thing, but it's not the thing. Like, and it's why power play production is such an interesting factor in analyzing a player, and why I don't really think about it when I do my work. Because if you should be able to identify the players that will do well on a power play by their 5-on-5 play and how they play there. And when you watch Gavin McKenna at 5-on-5, you go, yeah, when you take a man off the ice on the other team and you now have a 25% man advantage on the other team, this guy is going to be sick. Like this guy is going to be great. And that's awesome, but the game is largely played at 5-on-5. And so this is the difficult discussion for me. It's like, how do you weigh these things? If you have a guy who, let's say he comes to the NHL and he scores a point a game, let's say Gavin McKenna is a 90-point guy in 5 years, right? He scores 90 points. But a lot of it is on the power play. And his defensive metrics are not what you would want all the time, but you live with it because that's not really his job. He's a winger. He's more of an offensive player anyway. That's just, but in the context of like valuing the player, how do you square all of those things together? Because the stuff that is missing from his game is very difficult to pick up in a data set. Like for me, I mean, I'll just show you here. Let me just pull up his thing here. But again, this is just from the one game that I did on him this year. So that's very important to remember. But on the right, oh man, why is this way? Is that gonna do it? No. What about this? I don't know what's happening to my monitor here, but let's just do this. That looks a little better than before. But yeah, so here's McKenna, right? And none of this should really surprise you. You know, like a greens in the shooting, playmaking, and passing categories. Huge offensive threat. But when I look at his defending, you know, did not break any of the cycles he faced, and I believe there was quite a few. I don't know why this isn't because he didn't do any. So it's 0 divided by 0, right? That makes sense. But anyway, yeah, and like no hits, no shots blocked. Not that I really care that much about shots blocked. It's kind of random. But at the end of the day, you know, you have a mid-range shooter, heavy mid-range shooter, but tons and tons of pucks to the middle of the ice. And so to me, that's kind of exactly what I would expect from a guy like him. And that's but how do you weigh that, right? When you look at all the other stuff that's available this year, which I think we're too early to really have a good gauge on, right? I mean, I love Mathis Preston. I think Tynan Lawrence hasn't played yet, but I think he's there. How do you value that, right? How do you square that circle? And I don't really know the answer to that. And that's kind of the uncertainty of the NHL draft. It's going to be something very interesting to look into. But again, a lot of what success is in the NHL is who you surround guys with, right? It's not necessarily, holy crap, I have a Austin Matthews on my team. It's not, holy crap, I have a Connor McDavid on my team. If you put the wrong players with that guy, those players, you can make them not look very impactful or negate, like take away from their game if you put guys with them that exacerbate their issues, because no player is perfect, right? So for me, that's where I always am coming from. And so what's that equation for a guy like McKenna relative to the rest of the top of the market? So to see people like come to my side, so to speak, I mean, there's part of me that's like, you know, this is why I do what I'm doing, you know, and like, yeah, I'm not lying. It's not like I haven't seen these players before. But there is also a part of me that's just like, I just hope it doesn't become a thing. You know, it's that delicate balance of like being honest and truthful and being, you know, straight up and constructive. That's the key thing. And being, you know, honest and truthful and speaking your mind in a way that is just not helpful, you know? And we'll see what happens, right? It's still very early in the year. He's got a pretty soft schedule for this month. I would expect some good opportunities for him. But if you're playing against him, just don't take penalties. That's the strategy for me. Just if you're playing against him, don't skate after him as much as you can and don't take penalties. Bang, bang, bang. That's a decent start. It's Michael Misa debut season. Yes, I am very excited. I was watching a bit of him in preseason earlier today, and I think he looked pretty good. I mean, I don't expect huge things out of him. I wasn't as blown away as I was with Matthew Schaefer, but we'll see. I mean, he is a good player, and I think is a guy who I thought probably would go to college this year. But again, this is the Sharks' strategy, it seems, is this sort of slow, methodical development with their young players where they're sort of putting them in situations that may or may not be in over their heads, but giving them a chance to spread their wings a little bit, get their fins wet, so to speak. And get some water through those gills and see how they work, see how they go. And again, like San Jose on paper this year is not off to an amazing start, shot differentials and expected goals wise, which is not awesome. But, again, it's still very, very early, and who knows. But I hope that the situation isn't Michael Misa coming in and out of the lineup or something like that. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Would I send him back to Julia? I don't know. I don't know if I would send him back at this point. I would just see if he can handle a third line center situation, give him the reps, see how it goes. I don't know. It's a tough question. They've kind of put themselves in a bit of a tough spot because in Saginaw, there's really no point. And he can't go to college. So we'll see. Habs former 6th rounder Philip Eriksson is third in SHL scoring. Is he a legit NHL prospect or a flash in the pan? I mean, I've watched a bit of him from this year, and I remember checking in on him here and there last year. I think this is one of those things where if, he seems to be kind of like on and off with regards to producing. And if you average out the last 3 seasons, I feel like that's kind of where I feel about him, like a middling SHL guy. And maybe like, I feel like I would definitely see him on Laval very soon and see how he does there. I don't know if it's like always when I watch him, it's like him driving the bus and really pushing things around, but he's a smart player. There's some good skill there as well. I haven't seen him in a little while. I watched him earlier in the year because I saw him off on a rip, and I don't know. I'm not going to jump to that conclusion right now, but I do think that he's a guy that you sign. He's a guy that you put in the AHL. He's a guy that you see how it goes. And maybe maybe he has a really hot start there and it works out, right? But I'm very cautiously optimistic, but the way things are right now seems a little bit out, like unsustainable. And like there's a few other ones like out there. I think Igor Surin is shooting like 50% or something. Roman Kanserov is shooting 50 something percent as well in the KHL. Like it's still very early, but a good player. So how much do you think NHL general managers will fall head over heels trying to draft Alexander Kamanov? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's a very difficult spot because, I mean, he didn't make Brantford. He was a 3rd round import draft pick. I think 2nd, 3rd round. This guy wasn't like, teams weren't clamoring all over themselves to add this guy in the CHL import draft, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. I mean, even if they did clamor all over themselves to grab him, they probably couldn't reach him because he's 7'1" and can just do this with their heads and keep them away, and they're never going to touch him. But I mean, look, I think that it is a very intriguing thing where you sit there and you go, well, we might get a Zdeno Chara out of this, and he wasn't a 1st round pick, and he wasn't very good when he was 17, and he wasn't a very good skater, and this and this and this, right? And it took him a while to get his way into the NHL. And then on the other hand, very soon after Chara got drafted, like Boris Valabik goes 10th overall, a gigantic 17-year-old who didn't go anywhere. And so it's like, do teams think they have the next Zdeno Chara on their hands here? I can't tell you what Zdeno Chara looked like. I can't tell you what he looked like when he was 17, 18 years old. From what I've read and seen, it wasn't very great. It's like Karmanov is playing in the Go this year, the Greater Ontario, like the minors for the OHL. So I haven't seen him there yet. I will check him out because I'm very curious. I'm very curious what Karmanov looks like at that level, but I saw a little bit of him in Brantford, and I don't know. It's drafting out of the Goj is really tricky. And I would expect him to be really darn good there, right? Like Simon Wong last year was, I mean, he's not 7'1", but a very at least intriguing tool set there. And Karmanov, I just don't know, right? I don't know. And when it comes to the NHL draft, like maybe this is a blind spot for me, but like my strategy comes from like, what can I safely bet on? What type of player at a given point in the draft can I safely bet on? Put my chips behind, you know? And so then I go, well, when is that Alexander Kamanov? And I honestly don't know the answer to that question. He is as much of a black box as you're going to find, but I don't know if we will ever see a 7'1" hockey player at this age ever. Like the next tallest NHLer 6'9". It's uncharted territory, 4 inches taller. But that again, like how much does that matter? And I will also say this. I think another relatively smart thing that I have thrown out there that I always think about is the disadvantage that's there with big players, right? Gigantic players have their advantages, but they also have disadvantages. And I think the biggest one is, number one, it's obviously extremely hard to pivot when you're that big. It's just, you see them do it. I watched Maxim Sokolovsky today. You can, if they can't really skate all that well, dump and chase is easy. You just dump and chase on them all day long. But in Karmanov's case, the other thing is like, he's so tall that just if you're 6 feet tall, like your pelvis down to your ankles is a triangle, right? If you're 7 feet tall, that triangle is way bigger than that triangle if you're 6 feet tall, right? I don't know the math, you know, if you're standing like shoulder width apart, how much wider that triangle base is, you know, when you're 6 feet relative to 7. But also keep in mind, if you're 7 feet tall, you have a long reach out in front of you as well. So what does that create? It creates a very large triangle on the ice, right? So it helps with regards to sitting back, letting the rushes come to you, gap management. You can use your stick, and it's really hard to keep the puck away at that point. But also it kind of isn't. If you can get the puck under his stick as he swipes, let's say from left to right on you, you get that puck under his stick, you now have like a huge lane that you can then sort of, you know, put the puck back around the other side, try to, you know, there's options around those big. And that's a big thing I notice with big players is they have that extra space that skilled players can play with in between their stick and their feet. Like that is a thing that is notable. Those long sticks, those long arms, it sticks the end of their stick way out in front of their body, which has its advantages. But if you counter that with more skilled and I'd say quicker and more physically intense players, you can work around it, you know? But I'll be keeping an eye out. I'll keep an eye out because I don't know, like when is he going to be the guy that I want in the draft? I don't know. And last year, I guess maybe 6th, 7th round there at that point, I'd go like looking at the guys that were left on my list. If it were that class, I'd probably go, okay. But I feel like there's a team out there that's like, no, we are going to take the gamble because even if there's a 1%, like I've heard this from NHL people, right? There are some teams out there that have the logic of if this player has a 3% chance of being a top pair guy and we have the 65th pick overall and there's a 97% chance that we don't get anything with him, we're taking the 3% chance because you don't get elite players, top pair defensemen that late in the draft. Fair enough. You know, fair enough. I just don't see it the same way. But boy, if it works, you've legitimately got yourself a unicorn because there's nobody like him, and I don't know when we'll see someone like him again. But I don't think he's a Victor Wembanyama sort of freak alien guy like that. Ryan Lynn, Searling, and Floor. Okay, so yeah, Ryan Lynn. I mean, I'll say I didn't like him as much as a lot of people, I think. I've watched a game with AJ together. He and I had some trouble with that game. The game I tracked also had some real trouble. The thing about Ryan Lynn is I think he wants to play a certain type of game that is really, really risky and really, really cool when it works, but it requires a lot of care around him, right? Like he's very... Who am I trying to think of? Like, you know, he's a pretty undersized looking player. I don't think he's like small, but he doesn't really play big. He plays kind of a small game, very puck possession heavy, loves to do stuff himself. And the number of times in the game that I did where he was pinching up into the offensive zone, stepping up in between the dot lines and getting into the face-off circles and sneaking around and looking for opportunity, it was a lot. Probably more than any defenseman in this year's draft that I've seen, except... No, probably him. He's probably the one. Maybe Albert Smits, maybe, but not. I don't think so. But but he doesn't have the foot speed or the mobility to sort of cover his tracks defensively in those situations. That's when I sort of go, And the defensive ability when he's really pressured and physically challenged is really hit or miss. So I'm cooler on him. I think I think about him relative to a guy like a Sam Dickinson, and I think I would much rather have a Dickinson, and I was not as high on Dickinson as others. I liked him as a player, but there were some flaws there, and I think there are flaws in his game. But with Lynn, it's just, do I trust him to play that style of play every day and get him there, and get him to be that in the NHL? And I don't know the answer to that. It's still very early, but he's one I've had trouble with every time I've seen him this year, going back to the Hlinka and even last year watching him. He's a good player. It's just another one of those things of like, do I think he's top 10 in the draft, or do I think he's like a first round pick somewhere? And I feel like I'm more the latter at the moment, and we'll see where it goes, because maybe I've just seen him slow and not doing all that well. But again, with his style of play, it doesn't surprise me that he's scoring so much. That really doesn't surprise me at all. A fun exercise, if it may take some time. What's the 2026 team Scouching lineup look like? Yeah, so here it is. Right. This is what it looks like. Here, I'll share. Yeah, apologies for the way that looks. There, I fixed it. Wow. I just had to turn it off and turn it back on again. What do you know? Yeah, so this is the lineup here. I think this is everybody. I might have taken some guys off from years ago that who cares about them anymore. No offense. But this is what the lineup looks like right now. So pretty solid. I mean, we watched Gavin Brindley Friday night. He looks like a shot out of a cannon this year, so that's a lot of fun. I will, in terms of like this coming season, I mean, I have the short list, but as you can see, there's nobody in it. So Toronto has a first-round pick this year and a third-round pick, and then a couple of, I believe those are fourths, I think. That's fine. So, I mean, for me, like, in the first round this year, like, as of this second, which obviously I'm not going to just say it over and over again, but it is October 14th. But, like, the guys that I really, really like that might be sort of there in the late first-round pick are... I mean, I'm not gonna take away the idea that Xavier Villeneuve will slip in the draft and be drafted way too late. I just refuse to not think that. I think there's a chance that a Viggo Bjork falls in the draft further than he should, but I feel like late first round would be wild. Albert Smits, if he's there in the late first round, based on what I've seen of him, I would be more than happy. I would be more than happy to have him on the roster. I love that guy. Thomas Vandenberg is another one. I have a game of his to track, so I'll probably know better. But if I could see him as a late first round pick for at the moment. I just think he's so exciting and so dynamic and so interesting, and one of the youngest players in the draft. Ethan Belchetz won't be there. Casey Mutrin, I doubt, will be there. Chase Reed almost certainly won't. I would be surprised. Jack Hextall, I don't think. Like, there's a lot of guys here that I think could be available in that range. Nikita Sherbakov, Verdi Svensk, like, I like those guys a lot. Piparinen, maybe. Landon Nitsch, like Max Isaacson. There's a lot of really interesting players that I think things haven't shaken out completely yet, but Toronto does not have a first-round pick this year? Then why do I have that? Oh, did I not update this when they oh, God. All right, then who cares? Do they really not have a first-round pick? God, man, this is getting kind of old. Oh, my God, they don't have a first-round pick. Oh, boy. All right, well, now you get to see me delete this. All right. Well, never mind. Forget everything I just said. Life is pain. And this year doesn't matter anyway. So I quit. I retire as of today. Sorry. I'm going to become a full-time TikTok finance masterclass selling schlub. So if you want to get the inner track on all your favorite palladium mining companies and penny stocks that sell aerospace technology to OpenAI, you know who to dial, because clearly there's no point to doing any of this anymore ever, because this is really annoying. But yeah, I mean, I'm overall though, I'm happy with the group. I'm happy with the team Scouching group as a whole. I'm happy with how they're performing this season. You know, my boy Ludwig Johnson having another strong start to another strong year in National League. And yeah, I mean, considering Toronto's draft capital over the last little while, I do for partner member subscribers who have access to the drafted prospect tracker, I do want to incorporate where like draft value into the equation somehow, which I should have done in the summer, you know, but I was just having too much fun. So sorry. But, you know, basically inputting where the players were drafted and when, and the value behind their draft slots and how teams have done relative to that. Because considering Toronto hasn't had much in the way of draft capital at all, I mean, for me, coming away with, I mean, who's doing well here, right? Like, coming away with Hillstrom and Johnson and Sundqvist and Walton and Huninen and Galvis and Nieminen and Stiga, all with one of them being a first-round pick. Lane Hudson. I feel pretty good about that. You know, I feel pretty good about it. Oh, Lucas Gustafsson off to a point-a-game start. That's nice. Gavin Brindley, he would have been a first-round pick for me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy with it. Basically what I'm saying is if you have 6 first and second round picks, you know who to call. Thoughts on Alexei Vlasov and Noah Kosick. So Vlasov I saw watching Shilov. I just think him I think him and Korneyev and Shilov and Vlasov all just kind of play well together at that level, and I'm not sure any of them really scratch the itch of like good NHL player and like solid NHL pick right now. I think Shilov is extremely skilled, really skilled and really fun to watch at times. But I really worry about the feet and his size. Like he gets pushed off the puck a lot and he gets the puck a lot. But if there's not a play to be made, his effectiveness is much more limited. I haven't pulled even strength scoring data yet to take a look at that. I haven't seen it yet. But there are guys that I feel like I could see them being more power play focused players rather than even strength, and he might be one of those. But I could be wrong on that. I could be wrong. But Kosick, I have a game of to go. I like Kosick. I mean, Joel and I remember Joel Henderson and I watching him when he was in the WHL draft, and I'm like, I don't know if this kid's ever going to be anything, but he's fun to watch because he was like 5 feet tall when he was drafted in the WHL draft, something like that. I think he was listed 5'1", something like that. And he's grown like a weed even in the last year. And Swift Current is really playing him a lot. And there's a lot of skill there. There's a very interesting developmental trajectory there. Like clearly he has been through a lot physically in the last 12 to 24 months. So that's an intriguing thing. And worth looking into. So yeah, I do have a game of his to track. I'll get to it this week at some point. I don't know about Thursday's show, but I will have Kosick's on the list. Vlasov isn't, but I could easily check back in on him in a bit and put him on the list and have a look. There's just a lot of other guys that I'm prioritizing, and there's guys that I have to do second games of that I was interested in from last year or from last month that I haven't gotten to yet that I want to do. They can't all be Albert Smitz's, you know. They can't all be Alberts. Our buddy Alberts. Since Braden Coots has been sent off to the island, yes, he has been voted out. Yes, unfortunately. Of NHL to junior, which NHL rookie do you think from 2025 goes back next? That's a very good question. Oh man, Brady Martin. I feel like Brady Martin might be on his way back. That's what I would probably say. Yeah. Beyond that, I mean, there aren't that many, unless you're talking like beyond 2025's draft. No, NHL rookie you think from 2025, yeah. So yeah, I mean, Coots is gone. I mean, yeah, Brunick isn't this year, but I think Brunick and Kindle might go back after a tryout and go, you know what, just run over the WHL for a season. This team will be here next year. We'll see. Thoughts on Vandenberg and Amidovsky on the 67s? I'm more familiar with Vandenberg. I watched him quite a lot last year when he was with Cedar Rapids because he caught my eye a few times. And I've really liked him. I mean, again, like he combines a lot of the things that I like in the game, which is like pace and skill and energy and northbound sort of attacking energy and two-way sort of presence, I guess you could say. I will be very curious. He's on my list for tomorrow. So I'll give you a little bit of an update when I get to him tomorrow. But I like him. Every time I've seen him, I see some stuff there where I go, well, I haven't seen a whole lot of guys this year for the draft do that. You know, like navigating through pressure, knocking down pucks in chaotic situations, right? Like I'm always looking for players who are okay with the chaos of the sport, you know, and I feel like he's one of those. It's why I have guys like Tynan Lawrence, Mathis Preston, all really high. Ivar Stenberg, like I have guys like that really high because I think that's like Keaton Verhoff. That's another one. All those guys kind of check that box, I think, right now. And Vandenberg might be another one, and I have him pretty high. I know it's early, but looking at the start of the season, who would you move up or down from your last draft rankings after getting a sneak peek? Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's valid to ask that. Not that I'm like, you need your validation to ask me a question. That's not what I'm saying. I just mean, by the way, shout out Canada Dry. These are sick. Cranberry ginger ales, limited time only. They're really good. Really, really good. Excellent. But yeah, in 2025, I mean, I still feel pretty good about at least my first two tiers, Schaefer, Misa, and then Hagens, Eklund, Potter, Martone, Frondell. I think the gap between Schaefer and Misa is pretty wide, but I feel like in terms of long term, they're both going to kind of have that impact. I still love Colin Potter. I watching ASU this year, I just am always drawn to him. Eklund's had a pretty good year. I mean, I really like Lyndon Lakovic. I probably would. Yeah. I mean, part of me would put Kindle higher, but that's kind of kidding myself because I kind of had some doubts that I still think are legitimate, but I didn't expect him in the NHL, but I don't know if he'll stick. Coots, I'm thinking, being honest with myself, I don't think I'd have these guys that much higher. Coots, maybe, but I don't know if I'd put him ahead of Kindle. It's really hard because, like, Dane Noyer hasn't played. I haven't seen Hensler play. I've seen a bit of O'Brien, and I think O'Brien might be the one that I feel a little bit, you know, I had him lower than where he got drafted, but I feel like with O'Brien, I'm still a little bit, I was a little bit pessimistic about him, and I might have had him a little too high right now. I mean, there are guys that it just opened up in the draft so quickly last year. But in general, I mean, maybe LJ Mooney could have been a little bit higher on my list, even though he was in the 20s. But by and large, like, I don't know. I think this is basically okay. Cole Reshney, I mean, he was in my third tier that stretched all the way into the top 10. So there's that. That counts. But I was most pessimistic about him out of all of them. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe I'll wake up tomorrow, feel differently about everything I've just said. But I still love all these guys quite a bit in those top three tiers. They're all really, really impressive players. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I don't know. yeah, like I'm looking, and even like a Zhuravsky, I can't lie. Like maybe Zhuravsky should have been higher on my list for sure, but based on what I saw of him last year and everything that was going on there, I just didn't know about, all the credit to Montreal for valuing him so much, because I mean, I get it. I see it. So good on them for taking that chance. But yeah, I mean, by and large, I still feel pretty good, generally with the read on all these guys. Maybe Brady Martin over a Carter Bear, but again, it's really easy to say when Carter Bear, I don't believe, has played this year, right? Oh, yes, he has. Yes, he has. My mistake. He's played 2 games. Yeah, but they're not in the NHL. Michael Sverchek barely playing in the SHL. What do I know? But it doesn't make me look smart, so it's wrong. And I still love my Eric Nilsson and Lyndon Lakovich and Bill Zonal. So, I don't know. I wouldn't change a ton. I don't think I would change a ton, to answer your question. Why must the Buffalo Sabres be sad? My brother, in whatever deity it is that you choose to follow, I'll be with you. I don't discriminate. I've been to many religious services across the spectrum. So whatever it is that you choose, if anything, I'm with you, But I don't know. I don't know the answer. I said last year that I would be like very fascinated to be a fly on the wall with regards to, I think that's a, yeah, I don't know. I asked the question of like, I would love to be a fly on the wall and sort of pick up on what's going on there, because I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you, because it is possible for Buffalo to have a good team. I've seen it with my own eyes. I lived it as a kid. I saw it. The Hasek years, Michael Pekka, I remember that. Max Affin. You know who I'm talking about. It's been too long. I'm out of practice saying his name. Affinaganov, is that his name? Yeah, that was Max Affinaganov. Alex McGillney. Those Alex McGillney years. Oh my God. But in general, yeah, I don't know. And it's unfortunate because Buffalo is a great sports town. It's really close to where I live, and I love going down there and doing whatever. It's unfortunate. Good fans, really nice arena. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely things I would have done differently, but I don't know if it's players don't want. It's a vicious cycle because players don't want to go there because they know it's not very good, and so they can't attract great talent. But at the same time, they signed Zach Jones to a league minimum deal and then sent him to the minors on me, and they could probably use a guy like that on their team. But what do I know? But I don't know why they must be sad. I don't know. Like you would think that going to a Stanley Cup final and getting swept would be enough of a stab in the gut that like you'd be good for a while from the hockey gods, but it just seems that a 14-year playoff drought and like still not showing signs of, strong growth is a little bit of a problem. But I will also say, this is why it is also very important when you are rebuilding and you burn it to the ground to draft and develop well. Like you really gotta get it right. And there are definitely bits and pieces that you can look at with Buffalo where they did not get it right. And trading Dylan Cousins for Josh Norris is now looking like a bit of a tricky one there. So we'll see. I don't know the answer to your question. Which teams do you think have the most grim future? Well, I mean, depends on what you mean by grim, right? Like, hope can make grimness go away. Is that a word? Is grimness a word? Grimace? The McDonald's? Sorry, ADHD. Get it out of my head. No grimace. No McDonald's talk. No McDonald's mascot. Don't ask the viewers who their favorite McDonald's mascot is. Don't do it. Don't do it. Keep them out of it. Keep them out of your head. They don't need to be there. They don't deserve that disgusting spot. But anyway, because I look at like Pittsburgh and I go, ugh. Like they've got some really all-time great players, but is there going to be a playoff team anytime soon? I don't know. But are they going to be so bad that they have the first overall pick when they have a Sidney Crosby running the show? I don't know. Is that grim? Like, I don't know. I think, you know what? For me, I think the Rangers. I think the Rangers are the team that are looking right now grimmest. I just look at that roster and I just don't know the long-term goals there. You know, you traded away Keandre Miller. Fair enough, but you're not playing the guy that you got for him. You know, you put a lot of hope in Gabe Perreault and Brennan Othman, and they haven't really worked out. I mean, Perreault, it's still very early, I would say, but I've never, like, again, a limited player, so you have to put him with the right guys and put him in the right scenario, and he never really struck me as a good fit for what the Rangers seem to want to be. And the Rangers, I just feel like they just don't, like, they seem to have this, they kind of have this, like, weird hodgepodge of we're masculine energy, sort of big, tough dudes, and Artemi Panarin. Not that Artemi Panarin isn't a masculine dude, but he is that more finesse and skill-oriented player who will drag anyone with him to that level. Fair enough. But I look at the Rangers, and I think they might be the team that I feel like is grimmest. Like, Buffalo is the easy answer, but, like, I don't know. It's already grim, right? Like, that's not fun. Let's beat a dead horse again for the 70th time this week. Let's spice things up a little bit and look elsewhere. Maybe that's where the value can be had, and the Rangers come to mind. Outside of that, I don't know. Honestly, what do you project Ivar Stenberg to be? A good middle six, complimentary, do it all guy. I haven't seen I haven't seen a ton here. Let me catch up. Sorry, my chat bounced around and I don't like it. Yeah. So Ivar Stenberg, I do have to get around to seeing him again. He was one of the first guys I tracked last month. And I mean, look, I think he brings all the projectable tools to the game that you could ever want. He is a pretty physical guy. He's really strong on his feet, more than you would think. He's confident through pressure. He's got skill, like that phone booth stick handling thing, one or two quick little stick moves, and he can create some room for himself. Like a lot of things that you really want young players to do. I wonder about his ability to sort of control play and control transitions and quarterback a rush or something like that. But I mean, as an off-puck route runner, and like as a sort of complementary sort of board active player who gets into the middle of the ice a lot and can sort of get off the boards effectively and play a physical sort of game. Like, I think he could bring a lot of value there. So yeah, for Stenberg, I mean, he's in my top 6. He's number 6, but I could very easily see him quite a bit higher than that by the end of the year. There was a point in the summer where he's like 2 or 1 or something like that. So it's close for me at the top right now. Honestly, it really is. And Stenberg is part of it. I think some of it is a little bit of a fugazi with the production. A lot of it is sort of power play, secondary assist stuff that isn't really repeatable, but I still watch him in the SHL and think he looks comfortable there. Looks like a good asset to have on the team. And, a second line, maybe first line sort of complementary winger with a lot of solid capabilities in different areas of the game, but maybe without something that's like, this is your elite skill. But more than physical enough, more than skilled enough, good under chaotic situations. Those are the things that are really good about his game that are very valuable. Have you heard of known AHL goon Ivan Ryabkin? Yeah. Yeah. I said last year that I didn't like how he played. I just watched him play and I'm sure for anyone who plays beer league or something, you've all played with someone like that where they might be really good. They might have skill. They might be a good scorer on your team, but they're hacking guys and they're, yapping and they are just like slew footing and and whacking guys away from play and doing just that kind of thing that some people love, right? I'm sure there are people who love that about guys on a team. That's one way to look at it. Personally, in my opinion, I don't like that. I don't think that that's a net positive for the team as a whole. It just makes other guys on your team a target, in my opinion. Like, you make the other team pissed, they're going to do something dumb to your guys, right? And like, just beat them. Just win the game. Just be better than them. Like, just win the game. It's easy. Well, you know what I'm trying to say. It's not easy to win, but that's the goal. Win the game. Don't have more testosterone. That's not the goal. And so for me, and I also feel like the kinds of things that I've seen Ryabkin do are not tough. They're not this like, you can't touch me, I'm a big strong man and I'll beat you if it's very like weaselly, and I never liked that about him, especially once he got to the USHL. And I know I'm not alone in that. So yeah, and also if you haven't seen why he got thrown out of that game, like it's just like bad. I don't know why he's in the AHL right now, and it's not a very nice sequence from him, and like bordering on like disrespectful. Like it's kind of like, who are you? Like, this is kind of nuts. But I don't know. Maybe it's a nerves thing. I don't know, but I didn't have him on my list, and I just don't. I don't know. I don't have time for that, really. Andrew DeFranco, yes. Arseny Gricic, yes. I believe he's a point a game. It took 6 years, but it makes me. I believe it. I agree with it because it makes me look smart. McKenna isn't producing enough to overcome his weaknesses. He needs to be in the 60+ points over a year. I mean, I don't think it's about points. That's the whole thesis from me, is like when I watch a player, I don't care how much they score. When I track games, I don't track their points. I track when goals are scored and when goals are scored both directions, right? That's it. I mean, I do more than that, but in terms of points, I don't do it because it doesn't really matter to me. Because there's not like Gavin McKenna could score 5,000 points in the NCAA. It has no tangible effect on how he plays in the NHL, right? Like there are things you can grab from that 5,000 point performance where you go, yeah, I think this will work in the NHL because of this and this and this and this, but like it doesn't, like, it has no real statistical, like there's a bit of a correlation, but like it's not an end all be all. So it doesn't really matter to me how much they score, right? It's about what happens. And so I think what people are seeing are like, it's not necessarily like he needs to do this to overcome his weaknesses. I think it's more about like, oh, he might struggle in the NHL. Like, that's the question, is it's not about the specific weaknesses. It's about how the weaknesses could hamper the strengths in the NHL, right? That's where I come from, is like, when is he going to get the opportunity to do those positive things that he does when the things that are a hole in his game are they withhold him from those opportunities at the NHL level. Not always, but like at 5-on-5, there are ways to counter a guy like him, I think, in the NHL. And so if that's the case, then then what are we doing? That's the thing. So I mean, I think I'm warping your question a little bit here, but like for me, it's more about the growth in his game, and like the only way to do that is watch the games, nerd. Like that but in his case, it is about seeing more of what you need out of a guy like him to figure it out in the NHL. Whether it's the skating ability becoming truly elite, and the confidence being reined in a little bit right where it needs to be, and the defensive thing is just something you deal with, and that's how some guys in the NHL are, and he scores 120 points, fair enough, right? But I do think that there are things in his game that will regardless of how much he scores this year in the NCAA, are things that will maybe need to be worked through over the next little while, both on a psychological side and on an on-ice side. And the potential, though, is nobody's going to dispute that the potential with him is unbelievably high. It's unbelievable. But we'll see. Other examples you can think of off the top of your head of players who had the weaknesses McKenna had and were able to fix them? That's a great question. Like, I've said this so many times, but watching players when they're 17, and now, especially because the 2020 draft class is now sort of at the end of their prospect pipeline age curve, so to speak, and I'm very familiar with the 2020 class. That's the first class where I'm like very familiar with a large number of players from that class. Now watching them as they are now older, like, not a whole lot about their overall approach to the game changes all that much, right? The things that they do really well and the things that they necessarily don't do particularly well, it's still there. Their approach to the game is often quite similar at this age, for example, right? And I look at a guy like Owen Power, right? He's 2021, not 2020. But when I watch him in the NHL, I go, sure, he looks a little more mobile than I remember. He's got the skill level, he's making better passes here and there. But then when I watch him under pressure, I watch him along the boards, I watch him, corralling pucks on defensive zone retrievals. Those are the things where when I watched him when he was 18, 17, I'm going, I don't know about first overall. Like, this is a really key area for a defenseman to be really reliable and comfortable, and he isn't. Like, that seems like a big deal. And it's still that way in the NHL with him, right? And so if that's the, and like I see an Artem Levshinov playing for Chicago this year, and I see the very same type of player that I saw when he was 17, 18 years old. Yes, he's a bit of a better skater. Yeah, he's a bit more skilled, than what I remember. He's a little bit more refined in the way he plays. Sure, that's all there. But like when push comes to shove, when play comes to him, when it comes time for doing his job, the things that he does well are still the things he does well, and the things he doesn't do well are the things he doesn't do well. So with McKenna, it's like the defensive involvement is really not great, but I'm willing to live with it. Someone mentions in the chat Patrick Kane, and I think that's kind of the profile you might be looking at here. And, so you surround Patrick Kane with the right group, his 110, 20 points in a season is a Hall of Fame level output, right? But with the wrong surroundings, or on a team where he is the guy, like the focal point of the rest of the organization's future, and that's how he's portrayed and situated, that's where you kind of start to get a little bit of a tough read on him, right? This is the tricky thing, right? Like I don't know how to explain the feeling, but when you like, there are guys that I've seen over the years where I watch them and I A/B test it between what people say about the players and what I'm seeing on paper and seeing in video, and the number of times I'm watching a game and going, well, that didn't go the right way. That didn't go the right way. I wish that didn't happen that way. Like, if that is happening a lot to a certain point with players that are very likely to be first, second, third overall picks, that's when I just kind of get this like feeling where I'm with players, and I had it with like a guy like Lafreniere, right? And Shane Wright as well, where I had this gut feeling where I'm going, I know what people are saying, but I don't know about this. Like, I don't know. And so what I'm saying is, like, I'm trying this out. I'm trying out the strategy of just do what you believe, do what you believe, put it out there, stand by it, because, maybe I'll get burned, but it's taken 2 weeks and you're starting to see people sort of understand a little bit more of where I'm coming from, however you want to put it. So I don't know. I just feel like that barrier to entry in the NHL is going to be tricky. No, I did not have that with James Hagens. With James Hagens, it was almost the opposite, where I kind of saw him and I went, okay, there's limits in his game, but like people are talking about him like he's a failure. And I don't know about that at all. How much have you seen of Bouillon? I watched him today. Definitely Zeev Bouillon. Incredible skill level. The confidence in his game is really, really good. He was really solid when he had the puck on his stick and all that. Pretty good off the puck reads too. I thought he was all right, but like the physicality of the NHL is a lot for him, I think. I think he tries to bite off a little more than he can chew skill-wise. I saw him pinching up from the blue line in the offensive zone and just overhandling things once or twice, like one too many stick handles, one too many cutbacks, one too many this, one too many that, and it's a turnover or something someone else has to mop up. And that's a learning thing. But the Minnesota Wild aren't really a team positioned to have guys on the team that are learning. But I do feel like he is a positive player out there. I like him a lot. There's a lot of really good things about him that I think, again, the offense is definitely there. I think his defense is a little underrated, but still, especially on the physical side. So what's your tolerance for the physical side of the NHL? I think it's like if you're the type of person who really wants guys to be able to play with guys draped all over them and physical side of things, if you like that and you want that in a player, then you might be a little more down on him, and I can understand why. But I'm more of the camp of like, yeah, that might happen. He's going to stay in the gym. He's going to keep getting stronger. It's going to happen. But the positives in his game and the things that make him special are worth keeping around and working on, overall. Like you focus on the good as opposed to like the fear of the bad, when the bad is something that, happens, but is not, the not always the biggest problem, but when it's a problem, it can cost you a game. I don't know how to answer that. Can Carolina not miss Charlie Serrato going for a Hobie Baker and Justin Poirier had a hat trick in his first collegiate game? Yeah, I mean, Justin Poirier scoring goals is nothing new. It's what he does. He shoots the puck a lot. Have you watched any of Nikita Klepov? Yeah. I mean, I think Klepov is a guy who's going to be very interesting. I wasn't really blown away with him. I see him as a pretty small, compact, slower than he looks, I think, player who has a lot of skill and a ridiculous shot. Like, complementary offensive player, I can absolutely see. His finishing ability is really, really good. I just think he's a player where he's going to need a group around him that fills the gaps in his game. I think he's a guy who moves his feet a lot per second and doesn't generate speed well enough for a player like him. Could that change? Sure, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a skating coach, but it feels like a ways away. But the skill level and the confidence in the shot are all really, really good. And so there's ups and downs in his game just like anyone else. Like, do I have him in the first round? I do, but barely. So for me, he's one of these guys that's like a maybe second round swing on skill and bet that things improve, like maybe a Bobby Brink style draft pick. And I loved Bobby Brink when he was draft eligible, but questionable player, though, I would say. Klepov, though, is intriguing. He's interesting, but I feel like he's got some issues that are tough to overcome. What do we got here? Yes, Misa is playing tonight. Yes, they are playing Matthew Schaefer a lot. I mean, I don't think I would throw David Warsofsky out with the bathwater just because he's playing Michael Misa 11 minutes tonight, right? Like, this is not about game one. This is about like games 2 through 1,000, right? Like, that's kind of the thing. Like, the next 3 seasons of Michael Misa, right? 240 games. That's the thing. What's he going to look like in game 240? And if game 1 is 11 minutes, game 10, no one will care, right? That's where I would come from. But maybe you're right. Maybe he does suck. I don't know. I don't know him, and I'm not gonna bash. How does Ryan Lynn compare to Jackson Smith from last year? I like Jackson Smith a lot. Flawed player for sure. Really great skater. I think he's more mobile than a Ryan Lynn, but definitely Lynn is more skilled and like tactical and precise with his offensive zone play. They're tough. They're both tough to project, but I think Smith has a more projectable sort of defense first approach in the NHL, and Ryan Lynn is like a high risk, high reward, I think, type player. Haven't really watched Rubrek. What are his main struggles? I mean, he's a player who is there. Like, he is a guy who is pretty inactive most of the time, really passive, really focused on others doing heavy lifting for him. But a guy who does have really good offensive zone skill, pretty good on his feet, pretty light on his feet for a giant guy like that. Really good shot, just fires bullets. He just seems to me to be very like Oscar Olausson-like, if you remember him from a few years ago. Like a big, sort of floaty, lanky, skatey boy who kind of has some offensive tools and can produce against youngsters and all that stuff, but projecting to the NHL is really tricky. We'll see what happens with him, but I wasn't really I was kind of disappointed with the game I saw of him, and I've asked a few people about him because I feel like I'm crazy, and I'm not alone, I don't think, in my questioning of him. He's not in my first round right now, I don't think. But again, it's October. Lots can change. Yeah, Brian shattering my dreams about no first round pick. I need to start a hockey scouting AI platform for teams to use. Yeah, as if they would do that. Spreadsheets are hard enough for these guys. You think they're going to go with AI to yada yada? Actually, you know what though? I would bet that they're no, they're not using ChatGPT. You got to hope that they're not, right? But I mean, look, I do I think an NHL scouting department would use a ChatGPT Ultra account incorrectly and recklessly? Probably, yeah. But I will say, I will say that my experiences using Perplexity AI for research purposes and studying the draft and trends in the draft that I just don't have the time to do has been very interesting. And the structure, one thing I really spent a long time studying was the psychology of groups this summer and how the size of a group of people can affect decision making. What does that sound like? You tell me. And comparing an NHL scouting staff with best practices from a scientific standpoint when it comes to group identification of things and group discussion. And let's just say that if AI software had its way with running a scouting team, it would look a lot like how I would do it, apparently. Now, that might be confirmation bias from the model, but I very much went out of my way to specify not to do it, and even did it not to factor in my potential biases, and just look at it from a purely academic standpoint. But I don't think that's what NHL teams would do to implement that kind of thing. It would probably be, hey, ChatGPT, set a reminder to get in the car and go to the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, and don't forget your notebook. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little bit petty, but no. I mean, but it has been really interesting looking into things like that and trends in the draft and what's valued, undervalued, potential things that are not considered as much. One of the other things too that really helped with me in terms of AI software this summer was trying to figure. I mean, the best benefits of AI come from being already knowledgeable in the field that you're using it for, generally, in my experience. And my Bachelor of Kinesiology, I utilize it not often, but I guess this is similar. But I looked at it. I sort of used my knowledge and used an AI model to work on looking at academic studies of athlete development and trying to find if there are any external factors that you can dig up on a player from public information that might push you in a certain direction of this player might have more developmental headroom in like an academically concrete way, not just his dad is tall, like that's part of it, but what factors actually go into a 16, 17, 18-year-old athlete showing signs of development down the road and which ones don't show those same signs. And I guess in both of those use cases I've just outlined, from what I've seen, the answer B, NHL teams wouldn't like it. So take that for what you will. Have you seen Daxon Rudolph? I have. I pulled him off my list. I did not have a good time. I see a very passive and lackadaisical player who makes simple plays effectively, especially when he has room. He doesn't really scratch the itch. I will check in on him again. Again, it's one of these things where sometimes the players I watch the most are the ones I disagree with the marketplace on the most, and he's probably going to be one of those. So I'm probably going to watch a lot of them between now and the end of the year, but I did not have a very good time, unfortunately. Maybe since Toronto doesn't have that many draft picks, you can use team scouting to sign 2 or 3 guys who have aged out of the draft every year. Yeah, that's a consideration I've had. Just give me Kenta Izagai 30 times a year. That's it. No. But it is an interesting thought. Because there are definitely also team scouting guys who just have not been drafted and have gone on and had careers and playing somewhere or whatever, and I might give them a shot. I check up on them every so often, and I go, yeah, maybe there's something here to this guy. I might see what he can do in the minors and see what happens. I don't know, but it's an interesting thought. Any thoughts on Michael Hage? Michigan's off to a good start. I mean, super skilled, fun to watch player. I haven't seen much of Michigan this year. I have Adam Valentini lined up for this week, so I'll get to that this week, and maybe I'll catch some Michael Hage. But, I mean, a really good college scorer does not surprise me. I would expect him to be, pretty darn good, and went to just about the most perfect team for a guy like him in the draft in Montreal. So for him, yeah, I love watching him all the time. He'll almost certainly be a video room candidate this year, which are going to start coming again next month, I think, or towards the end of this month. We're going to start working on him. And I really, really like him. I think he's a great player. Tons of skill, tons of offense. And I was impressed with him from what I saw last year as well. What's the difference between Ryan Lynn and Cam Reed last year? I mean, Cam Reed doesn't, on paper, Cam Reed didn't really have the same, psychotic offensive zone energy, right? Like, Lynn is drifting into scoring areas a lot, and I don't think Cam Reed really did that a whole lot. Almost all of his offense was generated from point shots and just sort of catch and release moments in the offensive zone, in my experience. But a really good, I think Cam Reed is also much more explosive of a skater in multiple directions and scenarios than Ryan Lynn. I think Lynn is a little bit clunkier and a bit of a shorter stride, and Reed is a bit more, covers more ice with every stride a little bit better, but I don't have, I don't know. I haven't seen Cam Reed in a little while, but both of them are guys where I was kind of lukewarm on them. Lynn, I'm just cooler on him than a lot of people, but I see the appeal, and we'll see where it goes from here. Looking back, is there a player type that's a blind spot for you? Honestly, I don't know. I think I don't know, because I think in the early days, a lot of it was trusting production, and a lot of it was trusting, regardless of size, trusting skill and all of that. And that, I think, needed to be tweaked. But I mean, really now it's more about what type of player do I value the most? And by and large, I don't regret that standpoint, right? For example, Zach Bolduc on Montreal, right? Outperforming my expectations relative to where I had him on my board for sure. But when I watch Zach Bolduc, I still see what I saw when he was 17, right? Not an incredible play driver, really, but a really skilled, and pretty fluid offensive player that in the right, like if you put Zach Bolduc on a first or second line, he will score. But how much value does that carry, right? Because I think that there are quite a few players where they have enough offensive talent that if you shelter them in the right scenario and give them 20 minutes, they'll put up points, right? Like Gavin Brindley, he's playing like 7 minutes a game, and they are great minutes. He just doesn't get that many opportunities to score, and even then he still does. So it's a matter of like context and situation that makes it hard. And with Bolduc, he's an example of, because honestly, like I think back to what I saw of Bolduc in his draft year, and I wasn't the only one. I don't know what it is about his game that all of a sudden to Habs fans makes him unbelievably valuable. Like I would have traded Logan Mailloux for him for sure. Like that's a thing I would have done. But I'm willing to wait and see. I think that the types of players that I value are the ones that you want to value early. Right? Like the 200-foot, always dependable, always physical, always engaged. Like they have speed, they have physicality, they have tenacity, they have confidence, they have a swagger would be ideal. All of those things in conjunction, it's exactly what I'm looking for. Because I think that works no matter the level, no matter the opponent. They might not score every night, but they'll move the team in the right direction, no matter what. And I'd rather that, right? Does that mean that like I don't like guys who score? No. I mean, it's a little different. But yeah, in terms of players who are better or worse than projected, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I look back at my list from previous years and I don't know really, like, there are some players that I think I overvalue. The guys that I really, really like, I might overvalue them, but they end up being second, third, fourth round picks anyway. And then it's like, yeah, I would easily take those guys in that range. That's a no-brainer to me. And when you look at like, maybe nitpicky here and there, but I don't know. And I'm trying to be critical of myself here. I'm not being critical. I'm trying to sort of think it through, because like, am I going to all of a sudden start looking at 6'5" defensemen who have trouble skating and just throwing caution to the wind and, in the third or fourth round or whatever, or first round, just going, you know what? Let's see what happens, right? I don't have that confidence, I need to see more when they're playing. And so that, but guys like that will get opportunities. I don't know where I'm going with this. It's kind of weird, but anyway, yeah, it's tough. Yeah, Mason Geertsen is on Buffalo's roster. That's questionable. The Rangers thing. Oh yes, the Rangers being the team that the most grim looking. Digging Noah Laba out of wherever Scouch thought he was in 2022 is crazy. Yeah, so that's actually funny. Like Noah Laba making the team. I think you can go back. I think it's public. I don't know if I made them private or not, but the 2022 recaps where I looked at the Sabres or the Rangers. And Noah Laba was one where I was pretty positive on him. I had never seen him before coming out of the draft. I had never heard of him before, never really paid that much attention to him. But when I went and looked at him after the draft, I mentioned that he was one of the more intriguing players that I had never seen before that a team had drafted. And so I haven't had the chance to see him in the NHL yet this year. But I'm very curious because, yes, him coming out of nowhere and making the team is very curious. So is it, we'll see where the Rangers go, but yeah, seeing him in an NHL uniform is unusual, I would say. Do you draft a middle six forward second overall? Wheeler thinks Stenberg has a similar upside as Leo Carlson. Well, they're two completely different players, all right? Like Carlson is a big, heavy, fast center. Stenberg is a smaller, finesse, close quarters oriented, skilled, competitive winger, right? And so it's like I don't know. And even if that's true, right? Like let's assume that that's true. So Leo Carlson is a second line center right now, right? Like is he their first line center now? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but he is. Okay. So but they've got Carlson, McTavish, Granlund, and Paling. But I mean, yeah. So if he's a first line center on a cup contending team in Anaheim, then yeah, that's a lot of value. And do I think Stenberg could be a first line winger on a cup contending team? Sure. Yeah, I guess. I don't think he's going to be the guy on that line, but he's going to be an important part of it. Sure. I just don't think I have the certainty that Stenberg is going to, I don't know. I mean, sure, I guess. But why do you draft a middle 6 forward second overall? I mean, I'm just more conservative with valuations as a whole, right? Like I'm thinking if my team is a Stanley Cup winning team, where is this guy on my lineup, right? Where am I happy if this guy's on my lineup? And if Stenberg is on my second line, I'm feeling pretty darn good about the rest of my team, That's kind of the scenario. If he's like a first line winger, like I think that as he is now, could be very valuable for sure. It could work. It could absolutely work. Especially as a winger. I just don't know. It's also very early, right? Like I don't know. We'll see. Rank Canadian Thanksgiving dishes, prospect pipeline series style. Okay. Thanksgiving dishes. What do we got? I mean, turkey is overrated. I'm just going to throw that out there. I actually made a nice beef roast on the weekend for the fam, and it turned out very beautifully. It was quite good. I was very proud of myself. It was very good. Finished it today, actually. Stuffing is elite. I would say stuffing is a franchise level talent. Cranberry sauce, I would say it needs to be acidic for me. Like I think it needs to be a very tart cranberry sauce, but that's a solid core food. Dinner rolls, core. I don't know. I mean, like, I like a bit of a honey glazed carrot. That's a pretty good Thanksgiving meal, and that could be maybe in the depth. Like I could have it round out the dish. Beer. I don't know if beer is considered Thanksgiving, but that's toilet. I don't know. But definitely stuffing at the top. How do you feel about Maddox Dagenet and Jean-Christophe Lemieux? Yeah, I mean, I really like I mean, I shouldn't say like I love him, but Maddox Dagenet is very interesting. I think people, I know the Puck Preps team, I don't think we had him at 1 for the QMJHL draft when he went 1. I can see why they didn't have him there, and I can see it, but I still think he could be a solid NHL player. Like I think Dagenet has the size, the skill, the energy, the pace, he is a bringer of chaos. And I think if he can be that, no matter when he plays and where, I think he'll find his way into the NHL somehow. I like the sort of potential with the skill level he's got, the puck control ability that he's flashed here and there. But he just seems like a solid physical guy that could be decently valuable. If he goes 12th overall or something, it's a little bit whatever, but as an auxiliary sort of maybe down your lineup energy physical guy who, maybe he can play center or something, that could be something that you add and is good. JC Lemieux is fun to watch. I mean, he's a physical guy, pretty underwhelming in the game that I tracked, but you still saw that sort of physical energy in his game that I like to see out of anyone. Resilient, aggressive, protects the puck pretty well. Just maybe a little small to play that style. I don't know, but I really, really like him. I've liked every time I've seen him. It's just the projection. How do I feel about the Pens rookies? They are the greatest hockey players to ever exist. Ben Kindle, Art Ross Trophy winner every year from now until he retires. Easy. Thoughts on Frondell and Vaniker's starts? I mean, Frondell is doing his thing, right? I've seen a bit of Marek Vaniker. I saw Brantford not too long ago. Not in person, I should say. But yeah, I mean, Vaniker is a guy who, 8 goals already. Wow. Good. Look at him go. Yeah, like Vaniker is a guy who I think should physically dominate the OHL at this point. Like he's just big and strong and physical and resilient and skilled and just has all the things needed to make him a very, very hard player to stop in the OHL. I think in the NHL, like, he always felt like a solid third line guy to me. Third, maybe bottom six somewhere. Energy, sort of physical player that has some offensive ability as well, but maybe not like a top six level dude. Maybe in the right scenario he is, but I'm not sure that with what they've added over the years. I don't know if he's part of that group. Frondell, I mean, I think it was Lassi Alinen, the Elite Prospects Finnish guy. Shout out Lassi Alinen, good dude. He mentioned that, like, in the games where Frondell played center, he was way less impactful than at wing, and that's what I said last year. Like, if Frondell is on your first line on the wing and playing his role as a physical, sort of complementary, finishing-oriented, one-touch pass-focused player, then that is what you will get, and a good one, I think. Center, I think you're kind of kidding yourself if you think he's going to be like a first or second line NHL center, at least right now. But wing, I think the road is paved with gold ahead of him if he wants to stick with that, and I think in the SHL you're seeing it, right? His finishing ability, just catch and release, just grab the puck and throw it at the net and score. He is capable of doing that, and he does it really, really well. The only hiccup I would say to that is, I think he's more competitive and more physical than this player, but like that kind of is what Vitaly Kravtsov was, from what I remember, but definitely not. He didn't have the floor of a Frondell with regards to like the physical play, the sort of energy that he plays with off the puck, and who knows where he could be. I think there's a good trajectory for him that could really improve him, but yeah, good players though. I like Frondell a lot. He was in a tier that stretched from 3 to 6 for me, 7 for me, and yeah, I get it. Gavin McKenna feels like Patrick Laine, great offense, but not anywhere else. I think with Laine, he was more scary, because if you look at the data with Laine, he was so shot heavy, and again, it's why I kind of don't trust guys who score a lot of goals and don't get a lot of assists, because it indicates to me that like there's playmaking stuff that might be worth looking into, that might be an issue. Like moving the puck and distributing it and everything, like it might not be a strong suit, and that's a problem. And so with Laine, that's like always kind of been the issue. But the real problem is he scored 40 goals or whatever in his rookie year, but when you look, they all came from nowhere near where guys score from. And that's not Gavin McKenna's issue. He does not waste shots. I don't think he wastes things. Like I find it very hard to see a world where McKenna doesn't find some level of continued success in the NHL, doing, in a good role, because he's such a remarkable playmaker and has such great vision on the puck and has so many things going right for him a lot of the time, that it's just like, but there's just some things that are really problematic, and they can be worked on, of course, but he might need a bit of a supporting cast around him to enable what he does well. Patrick Laine is similar in the sense of like he needs a supporting cast, but I think he needs a supporting cast to do way more for him to make him Patrick Laine, the goal scorer, than Gavin McKenna needs to be Gavin McKenna, the offensive just wizard. And so that to me kind of eases the concerns, right? Like, the only thing for me with McKenna is, again, it's not that I'm saying that he's like a bust, right? He's a bottom seventh round pick, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying. It's just, I think there's a discussion, I don't think he's far and away, you're an idiot if you think anything otherwise first overall pick. I just don't think he's that. But do I think he should be there at like 5 or 6 in the draft? I think if that happens, then you're laughing. That's a no-brainer to me. There's just risk in his game, but at that point, to me, the risk is worth it. You deal with it. Is Zach Nyman the next Bobby Orr? I was waiting for you to see Zach Nyman. Yes, he is the next Bobby Orr. You never seen a Bobby Orr like Zach Nyman. I was waiting for you to come in here and shower me with your thoughts on Zach Nyman. I have a game of his ready to go as well for this week. I'm excited to see it. I like him a lot. I know Jordan Millette likes him a lot. We'll have him on the show to talk about him endlessly, and that'll be fun. But yes, to answer your question, yes. The biggest weakness I've seen in Demidov's game is forechecking. He doesn't really take a good angle or apply the right pressure. Is that a him thing or a KHL kind of thing? I mean, it's kind of both. I think Demidov never really struck me as like the best forechecker out there. I think he kind of just did it because he felt like he had to when I saw him, which is, makes sense. I'd rather that than not. And he does have the skating ability to be a bit of a threat in that regard. But I mean, if that's the biggest weakness in his game compared to what he does bring, I think you can sort of work around it. But I mean, also, yeah, that is kind of a KHL thing. Like the physical intensity of the KHL is not nearly as intense as the NHL. And that's a big thing. And it's only gotten worse since the number of imports in that league have dropped by half. And I think that number's only going to get worse. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's going to be the big thing for Demidov, is like getting used to that, the physicality necessary to succeed in the NHL, both on and off the puck. And I think he's doing well on it for sure. But I agree. I think off the puck is where there's kind of some more improvements needed. Cowan got his first point. Good for him. Quinn McKenzie thoughts, if any. I don't have any. So I will put his name down, and just for you, take a look when I get the chance. Sioux Greyhounds. Yes. Better or worse than Chase Reed? That's the important questions. I'm a fan of I'm still trying to more about XG. I guess learn more about expected goals. Does each area around the net have an assigned decimal value? It depends on the model, but yes, like you can usually what people will do is break the ice up into like hexagons and where the puck comes from in each hexagon as a potential value of whatever. But that's only a part of the model, right? Like every thing that happens that the NHL game play-by-play data captures factors into the model, right? So who's passing the puck? Where's the puck passed from? Who's shooting it, right? Who's shooting it affects expected goals, right? Like what's their shooting percentage on average, right? Are they undershooting their percentage before the shot hits their stick when they shoot it? Is it, there's all these other things that color the model in a certain way. So it does affect things, but it is more than just shot location, right? Like it is definitely more than that. Have you had a chance to check out Maxim Sokolovsky? Yeah. I mean, I wrote notes in the Discord server that he certainly is big. That's a big boy. I wasn't really blown away with him. The obvious comparison for me with the vibe check was Simon Wang. How should I thought he would have been much more exciting. And I thought, I felt Wang looked a little more comfortable on his feet, a lot more mobile, processing the game and moving the puck was not a strong suit for him at that point, but with Sokolovsky, it's not much better. I was underwhelmed. I mean, he's huge. He is huge. Can't take that away from him. And he definitely threw some hits, but another one of these gigantic guys who doesn't really move super quickly and loses more physical battles than you would think for a big boy. And to me, that's a tough combination. But it depends, we're talking second round pick. I guess I could see the value there. First round pick, you lose me a little. Stenberg sounds like Ehlers. I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. There's something to that, I think. And yeah, I mean, I think the projections for a prospect should be, where does the player fit? If I'm winning a Stanley Cup, where is this guy on my roster? If I'm winning a Stanley Cup, Anton Lundell is a third line center. That was apparent to me from day one in 2020, right? Or whatever year he was drafted, right? Like that's just who he is. That's just the way he plays. He is so good at it, and he has done it. That's it. But yes, that's the lens I always look through it as, like, on a really good NHL team, where would I play this guy? What role would I give him? And also, because I also feel like who gets first, second, third line minutes, well, especially first and second, like it can depend so much on like who's on the power play, like who are they playing against. Like it can fluctuate quite a bit, but I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, stuffing is Mario Lemieux level for food. Yes, I agree. Should Ehlers have been drafted top 3 in his draft? Yeah, I mean, what year was that? Was that 2015? No, 2014. My God, time flies. Jeez, that'll be 12 years. Oh my God. Well, I mean, in that draft, I think it's hard to argue Ehlers over Draisaitl for sure. I mean, I love William Nylander, and that's a difficult. I mean, I remember when they picked Nylander, and it was to me like a coin flip. Pasternak, I probably would have Pasternak above Ehlers, but I don't like it. Braden Point is in there. William Nylander, Sam Reinhart has had a heck of a career since, but I don't think he's too far off. He's definitely better than the 9th best player in that draft class. That's for sure. Yeah, Matthew Nye, 6 points in 4 games. He's a beast. Is Dorian Eklund-Ospe hurt? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Who should the Pens draft, assuming they pick 3 to 12? My friend, it's October. I don't know. It's a very different scenario for me drafting at 3 than it is at 12 this year. I would say if you're drafting based on what I've seen to this point, if you're drafting like anywhere from 3 to 7, that's a pretty decent group of players for sure, I can say at this point, but it's still early. Who knows? Maybe you're a playoff team, you know? I don't know. You never know. Throwing into Thanksgiving dishes you forgot to rank as mashed potatoes, vegetables, apple cider, yams, biscuits, and the classic green bean casserole. Green bean casserole was never a thing for me. I don't like casseroles in general. Yams, I will eat yams until the apocalypse for sure and beyond. Apple cider, yeah, that's a good apple cider. That's a top tier. That's up there with the stuffing. Mashed potatoes. If I'm making them, I'm cool with them. If I'm making mashed potatoes, they gotta have the skin in them, plenty of butter, and lots of pepper. Those are the way I make mashed potatoes, because that's the way I do them. If you make potatoes without skins, if you peel them first and you make them into a goopy, blobby, white paste, I am out. Yeah. I mean, if the Pens have the pick at 3 and like Tynan Lawrence is on there, I agree. I think that's probably the easiest selection. I mean, I love Mathis Preston to death, and I feel like in Pittsburgh he would be a rock star. We'll see when Lawrence starts to play. We'll see. Yeah, William Nylander has 7 points in 4 games, but he's not playing his best consistently, according to his coach. Look, I'm telling you, AJ, if he's not here to defend the Leafs, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel. What's the most important dish of Thanksgiving outside of turkey? Well, stuffing, obviously. Yeah, stuffing and whiskey. Good whiskey. Yeah. World Junior teams you look forward to seeing. That's a good question. I mean, the Canadian team is probably going to be really good. I would be very shocked if they weren't. Then again, it's Canada at the World Juniors, so you never know. But on paper, they look really strong, I would think. Sweden, I think, could have a really good team. I'm not so sure about Finland. If only Kazakhstan were still here, you know? Beksultan Makish and Alisher Sarkanov, you know? That would have been a lot of fun. But unfortunately, we can't all have nice things all the time. Oh, right, it's Denmark this year. Yeah. Latvia might be interesting. Latvia could have an interesting team. Slovakia, I think, could have a really interesting team. They might have a young team, but a really intriguing one, especially if like Nemec, Tomik, Horenko all make it. Heck, Oliver Ojigani. Why not? Throw in Oliver Ojigani. He's pretty good too. Call it a day. Ivan Demidov just scored his first NHL goal. He had a heck of an assist too tonight, so that's pretty good. Nice big night for Mr. Demidov. Verhoff looks like Ekblad to me. Is that a fair comp? I could see where you're coming from. Yeah, I mean, I see a little bit of the same things, I think. I also don't really remember Ekblad when he was 17, like at all. I was a young man just out of school, so I hadn't given up on life yet. I was still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and the Canadian, the Canadian housing market hadn't gone completely haywire at that point. So my priorities were elsewhere. I hadn't been radicalized yet. But yeah, I mean, I could see where you're coming from on that. I don't have a game of Verhoff yet because I wanted to wait for a couple more games. And who did they play? It was St. Thomas Academy or something like that, like a really low-rated team. So usually I don't touch those games. I'm going to wait and see how he does probably this weekend and then go from there. Same thing with Landon Nietzsche. I think he's in a similar boat. But yes, I think position-wise, yeah, I think Lawrence is the best potential option. Blackhawks are drafting Lawrence, so it's a moot point. Yeah, okay. No, I know. I'm not picking on you about the Pittsburgh Penguins things here, Mr. Josh. It's all good. I'm just having some fun. But yeah, I mean, look, the Penguins this year, the expectations are pretty much at the floor. Again, I think I can't say with like a huge degree of certainty, but like, this draft is really exciting. Top 10, maybe. Sure. I could see finding reason to be really, really excited about that. And I think that there are just a lot of good players available from there onwards. Just a lot of good, intriguing bets to make that lasts quite a while. So, like, I think if the Pens like really stink it up this year, which, I don't want to see Sidney Crosby on a team that wins 20 games. It just doesn't feel right. So I hope that's not the case. But if that happens, seeing them come away with a Mathis Preston or come away with a Tynan Lawrence, I'm thrilled. And yeah, stronger than last year at the top, I would say so. I mean, yeah. Schaefer Misa would probably be in my top tier this year with Preston, Lawrence, McKenna. Probably. Yeah, I would say that. 2025 last year, like, I'm thinking like a Cullen Potter, for example, who I had really high, or I had James Hagens 3. I'd probably have Hagens 6 this year, maybe, behind Verhoff and Villeneuve and Stenberg. 7, maybe, something like that. Yeah, 7 for sure. Cullen Potter, probably 8. A lot of the guys that I had like 3 to 7 last year probably would be like 6 to 10, if that makes sense. And like Schaefer Misa would be more like top of the pyramid this year, especially Schaefer. Maybe you split them up because Schaefer has been like, if you love hockey, I swear to God, if you love hockey, go watch the Islanders and look for Matt. Like, I could not believe my eyeballs. The kid was amazing. He was incredible. And so I hope he keeps it up, because hockey is better with more exciting players in it. He's amazing. And yeah, Rubrek is a wild card. He's a huge wild card. Literally, he's huge. I'd have Hagens ahead of Lawrence. No, I wouldn't. I'd have Hagens at like 6 this year. I have Lawrence at 2. So yeah, I would have Lawrence ahead of Hagens. It's a tough call though. Like, it's a tough call, I would say, because Hagens was like top name in that second tier last year, and I would have had him. I had him 3. Just outside the Misa Schaefer group, but I think Lawrence, based on what I saw at the Holinka, from where I am now, I feel like I probably would lean Lawrence. Maybe I will live to regret that, but it also is important to remember that Hagens is a late 06 and Lawrence is a very young 08. So there's a very wide age gap between the two. But yeah. Anyway, on that note, we're at 10 o'clock. We're going to call it. Thank you very much for joining me. We'll be back Thursday afternoon. I believe we will have producer AJ back for that, I believe. No Leaf games in the afternoon for him to fit in his fancy 100 level seats in the Scotiabank Arena. But yeah, I think he'll be back Thursday. We're going to have some content planned coming out in the next couple of weeks, so you can keep an eye out for that. Again, if you really want to support us, definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video, party on. Definitely consider a subscription over at Scouching.ca as well. That helps us a ton directly, and you get all kinds of fun perks you can check out over there. And I saw the one question pop in at the end here. Is there a center you think will move to the wing in the draft this year or in reverse? I mean, in my heart of hearts, I would love to see Mathis Preston play center at some point, but I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe Casey Butrin as a center would be kind of a fun experiment. Landon Haffel, the guy I can't pronounce because I'm too lazy to look. He is a center when in the game I did, and I didn't think he would stick in that position. Probably not. Novotny is a winger, but I don't think he's a center. I don't know. It's a good question. Probably too early to tell. But on that note, thanks for joining me again. Consider a subscription or whatever. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks very much. We'll see you in the next one.